Paul Gallen could be considered as Queensland's biggest villain when looking in the Origin arena. New South Welshmen loved him, Queenslanders think he's a grub. He was a tough player who loved to throw hands on the field and inside the boxing ring. In the middle of his footy career, he was in the centre of controversy and was labelled by some as a drug cheat. This is the story of Paul Gallen. Paul Gallen was born on the 14th of August 1981 in Sydney and played junior rugby league for the Wentworthville Magpies and was in the Parramatta Eels junior system, but was overlooked by the Eels and would sign with the Cronulla Sharks. In June of 2001, Gallen would make his NRL debut for the Cronulla Sharks against the Eels in round 15, and later in the year in round 24, he played against the Broncos. These were the only 2 games he played this year, playing off the bench in both of them. In 2002, Gallen would find himself in the regular first grade side and scored his first try in round 14 against the Canberra Raiders. He played 21 games this year, scoring 1 try, playing off the bench and in the second row. In the first round of 2004, we would see the boxer in Gallen for the first time. He was in a fight with a West Tigers player, John Scandalous, that saw him suspended for 2 weeks. Later in the year, Gallen would extend his contract with the Sharks for another 3 seasons. He played a total of 19 games and scored 5 tries, playing off the bench in the second row, and even a few games in 5'8". In round 24 of 2005, the Sharks had their biggest ever win, beating the Manly Sea Eagles 68-6. He even scored a try in the game. At the end of the year, Gallen was awarded the Cronulla Sharks Chairman's Award by the president Barry Pearce after his impressive season and ran the most metres in the competition, running 3,920 metres with the ball. He played 25 games and scored 6 tries. Before the 2006 season, Gallen was suffering from a bulging disc in his lower back and had to undertake surgery and missed the first few rounds of the season because of this. During the season, he played in the City vs Country and made his debut for New South Wales in Game 3 of the Origin series. He also played for Australia in the Prime Minister's 13 later in the year. He played 18 games this year and scored 7 tries. In the preseason trial game of 2007, Gallen suffered ligament damage in his ankle, causing him to start the regular season in round 4. A few weeks later, it was announced that he was selected for the City vs Country again, but had to withdraw due to another ankle injury. And later in the year, he was selected once again to play in the 3rd Origin match. This is the first game when Gallen let his hands fly in the Origin arena, after he put a high shot on Tony Carroll. Both Queensland and New South Wales players ran in as the punches were thrown. Later in the season, in round 18, he was involved in another fight after he headbutted the Roosters player Shane Shackleton while he was being tackled. He received a grade 1 conduct offence and was suspended for 1 match. And at the end of the season, Gallen played in the Prime Minister's 13 for Australia. He played 19 games for the Sharks this season, scoring 2 tries, swapping between lock and second row. In 2008, Gallen started the year in some trouble, as in round 3, Gallen was caught on camera, raking his hands across the bandaged forehead of a Titans player, allegedly trying to rip the stitches out of his head, and then grabbing another player's nuts in a separate tackle. He would be suspended for 3 games. He was later selected for all 3 State of Origin games, and at the end of the year, he played for Australia in the Rugby League World Cup. He played 20 games for the Sharks, scoring 4 tries, swapping between lock and the second row. In 2009, Gallen would cause more outrage for racially abusing Mickey Pay. He later apologised for the comments and was fined $10,000. He would play in the second game of the Origin series and for Australia in a one-off test match and in the 4 nations at the end of the year. The Sharks had a poor season this year, finishing 15th on the ladder. Gallen played 17 games, scoring 7 tries, mostly from the lock position. In 2010, Gallen played in the Anzac Test match, but was left out of the first Origin match, only to return for the second and third game. He played 23 games for the Sharks this year, from the lock position, scoring 3 tries. In 2011, he played for Australia, and in all 3 State of Origin games, and in the second match of the series, earned the Man of the Match award. It was later revealed in 2016 that he was possibly filled with performance-enhancing drugs during this game, as around this time it emerged that 2011 was the year of the Cronulla supplement saga. At the end of the year, he was awarded Lock Forward of the Year. He played 20 games this year, scoring 6 tries from the lock position. In 2012, Gallen played for Australia and the Blues in all 3 Origin games, again, just for New South Wales to lose for the 7th series in a row. He He played 16 games for the Sharks this year, scoring 3 tries, and at the end of the year, he got into another fight. This time, in the ring, as he began his amateur boxing career in part of a rugby league vs rugby union charity event. Gallen would win by unanimous decision, and the next year, he would have his second amateur fight, and win via split decision. In 2013, he played for Australia in the Anzac Test match and 2 games of the Origin series. And in the first game, Gallen threw hands, again, in the famous Origin fight, landing punches against Nate Miles. After this incident, the new rule was introduced that players would be sin-binned for any punches thrown in future Origin games. And at the end of the year, he played for Australia in the Rugby League World Cup, helping Australia win the tournament. He played 16 games with the Sharks this season, scoring 2 tries. At the start of 2014, he made his professional boxing debut against Herman Purcell and won via TKO. And later in the year, he would captain the New South Wales Blues as they ended Queensland's 8-year winning streak. Later on this year, Gallen would be one of the Sharks' players who would plead guilty to having unknowingly used banned substances dating back to 2011. He was labelled by some as a drug cheat during this time. Later in 2019, Gallen received a $700,000 payout from the Cronulla Sharks to stop him from suing the club for what happened during the time and the effects it had on his reputation. He only played 9 games for the Sharks this season, scoring 2 tries. And at the end of the season, he would enter the ring again, this time fighting former league player Anthony Watts, and once again won the fight via first round TKO. Gallen started 2015 with another boxing match versus Randall Raymond. Gallen would win by unanimous decision. Gallen would start the footy season by playing in the NRL All-Stars match and played 2 games for the Blues. He played 18 games for the Sharks at the lock position, scoring 1 try. And at the end of the year, he entered the boxing ring again, winning by unanimous decision, beating Bowden Thompson, making his professional boxing record 4-0. And once again in 2016, Gallen started the year in the boxing ring, beating Herman Purcell again via TKO. He would go on to play in all 3 Origin games, playing for Australia in the Anzac Test match, and lead the Sharks to the grand final, captaining the game as they beat the Melbourne Storm 14-12, giving Sharks their first grand final win in history. He played 22 games this season, scoring 4 tries, and at the end of the year, he was in the ring again, twice, beating Junior Paulo by unanimous decision, then Ryan Karketu via knockout. In 2017, he would play 25 games for the Sharks, scoring 3 tries, as the Sharks made the qualifying finals, only to lose in extra time to the North Queensland Cowboys, 14-15. And at the end of the year, he would find himself in the boxing ring again, this time beating Puna Rasabel via unanimous decision. In 2018, Gallen would join the panel of the Monday Night Show and became the first player in NRL history to hit 50,000 run meters. He played 21 matches for the Sharks as the club made the preliminary final, only to lose to the Storm 22-6. At the start of 2019, he would fight John Hopper-Wade in the boxing ring, winning by TKO, bringing his professional boxing record to 9-0. This year would be the last footy season for Paul Gallen. In round 9, he would kick his first goal in his club career, and then 2 weeks later, kicked his second goal. And later in the year, in August, he was voted as one of the best players of the decade. And in round 25, he kicked a field goal as the Sharks beat the Tigers 25-8, putting them into the final series, only to lose to Manly 16-28. He played 22 games for the Sharks this year, scoring 1 try, kicking 2 goals, and 1 field goal, playing from the lock position. And after his retirement from footy, he jumped straight back into the boxing ring, fighting Barry Hall, and the bout ended in a draw. At the end of 2020, he fought Mark Hunt, winning by unanimous decision. Then in 2021, he would box in 3 fights, beating Lucas Brown via TKO, then lost to Justin Hooney by TKO for the Australian heavyweight title, giving him his first loss. Then he beat Darcy Lussick via TKO at the end of the year. Moving to 2022, he fought in the ring 4 times, losing the first one to Chris Terskieski by decision. Then later on in the year, boxing in 2 fights in the same night, winning them both, beating Ben Hannett and Justin Hodges. And at the end of the year, he beat Justin Hodges again in his final boxing match, ending his professional boxing career with 15 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. In the meantime, Paul Gallen has continued to commentate and work for the media at Channel 9. Paul Gallen played 348 games of NRL for the Sharks, making him a one-club man, scoring 63 tries. He also played 32 games for Australia and 24 games for New South Wales. While many would consider him a grub, others consider him a tough, strong player. Regardless, he was a strong captain and a great leader, when inspiring his troops around the park, and proved his skill in the ring as a quality boxer.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I post videos like this twice a week, and if you want to watch another one, click the video on screen.